It's just the utter shock of it, that something like that could happen to our family. All the time you're praying the worst hasn't happened, because you can't imagine life without your child.
It's a devastating fact and an alarming statistic that every 90 seconds in the United Kingdom, somebody goes missing. I'm about to meet Caroline, whose son Izaak, at 20 years old, disappeared in April 2022. Tell me about your son growing up. What was he like?
He was always laughing and joking, and he was very fun-loving, and he was a prankster.
So a happy person?
Yeah, happy, really happy, until puberty probably, when there were the first signs that things, maybe were going wrong. He started suffering with depression when he was about 15, and those sort of interludes of depression began to take over his life more and more.
And you're not sure what to do, really?
I'm sure people will think that how could you not have known that your son was feeling that way? But like I say, they hide it.
Much easier said than done.
Much easier
it's
said
so
than
easy
done.
to say,
Yeah.
Of course you should have seen, but it's not like that. How did you discover that he was missing?
It was Friday night, and he'd been in the bath for a long time, and he came down and he said, I'm just going out for a drive, and off he went. So I didn't think there was anything unusual about that. And I went to bed, and then about 2:45 in the morning, I shot out of bed and went to the window, looked for his car, and it wasn't there. So I texted him and there was no reply, and I tried to phone him and the phone was switched off. All your senses are going off and saying there's something not quite right about this.
When did it really dawn on you that this was just not an odd-off occasion, that he was, he really was missing?
I telephoned his brother at 5 in the morning and said, Zach's not at home. And he said, don't worry, Mum, I'll go and look for him.
How did you discover that the worst had happened?
So, we were asking consistently for a drone and for a sniffer dog. And on the Tuesday morning, a lady came out with a man-trailing dog, and we live in a house overlooking a reservoir. It's a beautiful spot. The dog sniffed some of Zach's clothes and went straight down to the reservoir. And she says if he loses the scent, he'll start circling. And the dog did that right at the edge of the water.
Oh, gosh.
We were all standing on the drive watching. The police are in the boat and they're looking at the house, looking at us on the drive, and then they're looking down in the water, and they're looking back at you.
Yeah.
And that's when your heart breaks.
Yeah. How did you know about missing people?
Missing people got in contact with me. I think they were within a couple of days. I was speaking to somebody from Missing People, and they were helping and advising and listening.
That comforting to you to have that assistance?
When something like that happens, it's like falling from a huge height, and it felt like they just spread a blanket out underneath you and caught you.
But of course, all these things come together in the grief that you talked about so well at Christmas time.
Christmas time is a very difficult time for families who've lost somebody. The empty bedroom and the empty chair at the table becomes even more noticeable at Christmas.
It must do.
It's important for people to know that there's help out there, not just for families who have lost someone or, a member of their family is missing. Help is also there for people who feel like they need to go missing. They can be a lifeline in a really terrible situation.
That's good to hear, because it's what we try to do in the charity, to assure that people can have that help.
I can't thank the charity enough and say, they took hold of my hand in the most difficult point in my life and started walking with me.
You've expressed that beautifully, terribly well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.